Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, number 69. I'm Fred Green. Now, if you ever read any golf magazine or watch golf on TV, no doubt the name David Leadbetter is recognizable. The David Leadbetter Golf Academies continue to open locations all over the world, and many people agree that the shining star of the operation is Sean Hogan. Currently, Sean is considered David's right-hand man when it comes to working with and instructing the biggest names on the tour. He's consistently on the move, but we got lucky enough to stop him for a few minutes so he would speak with us. Welcome to Golf Smarter, Sean.
Thanks, Fred. Great to hear from you. How's everything at golfsmarter.com?
Everything is going well, and it's even better because you are here. Now, we've heard multiple people tell us, oh, you're going to have Sean Hogan on. Well, he's David Leadbetter's right-hand man.
Well, I appreciate that. No, it's I've had the good fortune to be associated with David for, as an employee for over 15 years now, and also had the good fortune as a player to take lessons with him in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's just been a fantastic opportunity for me and certainly for some of my colleagues to be able to teach and learn from the best. So it's been fantastic, really.
So you're saying that David Leadbetter has received the kind of exposure that he has, whether it be in print or on television, he's really earned that as being a phenomenal teacher?
He has. I mean, David's, first and foremost, he has a great passion for the game and helping people. And when you have those qualities and, develop your communication skills, as David's done over the years so very well, been able to work with a multitude of players, both the regular recreational player and helping them, and also working with, obviously, some of the best players that have played the game, Ernie Els and Nick Price and Trevor Immelman. So when you get an opportunity in my position to, watch David do what he does, you pick up a lot of his skills, and it's really been a fantastic experience for us all to be able to learn from him. But he's definitely, his passion for the game and helping others, as I said, is really, I think, and his communication skills have really carried him to the top of his profession.
And what is it about David Leadbetter's instruction that has set him apart? There's so many different instructors teaching so many different things. Why is David that good?
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, David came onto the scene in, I would say, the early 80s. Obviously, his affiliation as Nick Faldo's coach has been well publicized, and I think if you look back to those early days, certainly in the early to mid 80s, coaching wasn't certainly coaching top players and traveling with them to big events and getting them to try and perform on the grand stages of major golf was very unique at the time. And David really, when you talk with the Hank Haneys and certainly Butch Harmon, David's name comes up a lot in terms of his ability to turn golf instruction into a business as such, a business where people could, narrow their focus down into this arena and really grow it in terms of growing the game, improving people's ability to play the game. And so he's definitely been a forerunner in the arena of golf instruction. And I think he's really, he's been he's carried that mantle and really done a tremendous job, obviously through his books and videos, and really given a lot of people great opportunities in the game and allowed them to follow their dreams in terms of teaching and helping players. So, he's definitely been that forerunner. So, yeah, it's been a tremendous career for David, and I think we're looking forward after 25 years of the David Leadbetter Golf Academies around the world. We're looking hopefully to another 25 years.
Yeah, everybody hopes for that when you've been in business that long. How many David Leadbetter Golf Academies are there currently?
We have 26 around the world, Fred. Wow. We have obviously headquartered here in Orlando, Florida, and we have 4 sites in the United States, 4 full-time sites, and also several seasonal sites in some cooler regions that we open up in the summer. And we, stretch out as far as academies all the way over in China.
That's phenomenal.
And everywhere in between.
Yeah, and you also have in Bradenton, is that
the junior facility at Bradenton is really an unbelievable facility. I mean, you're talking upward of 200 juniors in the full-time golf program there. There's also tennis, soccer, basketball, baseball, and they've actually started up swimming. But the golf and the tennis down there, obviously headed up with Bollettieri in the tennis, and David's name in the golf it's been around since about the mid-'90s, and just an amazing arena for young, talented players to focus on the game, really in a sort of full-time training capacity, squeezing in, obviously, a full-time schedule in school. And it has that, almost Olympic-type level of training associated with it. So it's a great platform to develop young, talented players' games and certainly get them into the collegiate and professional arena.
We're not talking, when you say talented, we're talking about exceptional young players, aren't we, from all over the globe that arrive at this school?
Exactly. I mean, some of the graduates, obviously, Paula Creamer, you look at Julieta Granada, two very well-accomplished young LPGA players, and we're starting to see some very talented younger players come out. We had the NCAA champion, that being the collegiate champion from '06 in Jonathan Moore. You're talking about the best of the best in junior golf in the United States and certainly from around the world. They've had some great talented players come there and benefit from the teaching. So we're very happy to have that type of facility. Young players looking to really develop their games, have an opportunity in fantastic weather, obviously, in Florida. It's all year-round stuff, and then they're able to go and obviously compete in the summer in their country, or for that matter, travel the world if they're able to, represent the country on the national team. So it's a great situation for very, very talented young players to see what they've got and give themselves a platform to maybe go on and do some great things in the future.
Very exciting. And you talk about having the 26 locations around the world. What does it take to become a David Leadbetter Golf Academy instructor? I got to believe that you guys screen out a number of instructors and then shape them to David's model.
Yeah, we really do, Fred. We get a tremendous and have a tremendous database of resumes. We feel very fortunate that so many professionals and even collegiate players that feel like maybe playing isn't for them, but helping people play the game better is. And so, it's great to be able to have that sort of a database. I think from David's perspective, the three things that stand out as far as instructors that we look for, obviously a passion for the game itself. We obviously look for people that also have an interest in helping others. And then, communication skills, obviously vital. And so with those three as, the foundation, David feels like we can really develop that player or that person in terms of their teaching skills and the knowledge of the game that David has, and sort of pass that on and hopefully, develop some great young instructors that go on to do great things at locations around the world. And we're really, looking at some of the instructors like Jonathan Yarwood, who's obviously worked for us for a number of years, has been able to go out and help a player like Michael Campbell win a U.S. Open. So we've had tremendous success breeding some great instructors over the years.
And are you instructing too, or are you more administrative?
No, very much so. My daily duties include, taking care of all of David's full-time students, both LPGA, PGA, European Tour players. I've had the good fortune now for the last 6 years to work with everybody from Trevor Immelman to Lee Westwoods, Ernie Elses. It's been a fantastic journey. Working with that sort of talent definitely inspires you with some of the younger players you work with, getting them to, look up to these players, see the work ethic, certainly learn from them, from some of the experiences they've had, and pass that on to the developing players. So in my capacity, sort of acting as a set of eyes for David when he's not here at headquarters. And, David's schedule over the last couple of years has cut back in terms of traveling to tournaments and seeing the players, and my schedule has increased in that regard. So I feel very fortunate that he has the confidence in me to go out into the road and be able to do that. And it was my first year this year actually going to the Masters.
Wow.
I had traveled to all the other tournaments in a coaching capacity, but the Masters, and then having Trevor, obviously, being able to work with Trevor there and see him fulfill a lifelong dream, winning a major and obviously winning the Masters as his first, that was a big sort of boost of confidence for myself. And
yeah, I would think so. I mean, going to the Masters is one thing, but getting inside the ropes and having your student do that well? Yeah,
it was just an unbelievable journey. He's put in so much time. David's invested so much time. Working at that level with that type of a player, very driven personality, very intense, very focused, sort of got that Gary Player type, focus about his game, very determined. And to see him pull something like that off was a real tickle for all of us associated with him.
I can understand why you would, and watch the way I put this, but drop the names that you've dropped. You've talked about some very high-profile golfers. But as a average golfer who, plays, weekly at best, those people are in a league that I can no way compete with, or even compete with affording to get that kind of instruction. Mm-hmm. Is the David Leadbetter School available to the average golfer and affordable for the average golfer?
Yeah, Fred, that's the beauty of our instruction here. Sometimes I kick myself. 1 minute, you're helping, a Trevor Immelman type player, and the next minute you're able to, schedule permitting, we're able to, in my capacity anyway, be able to see a 15-20 handicapper. And so we have 8 full-time instructors here at Champions Gate.
Wipe that sneer off your face when you say 15 to 20 handicap.
Exactly. I mean, it's a tough game at the best of times, but no, we have a range of programs, all ages, all abilities. I mean, we see everybody here from, retired, 60-somethings that just love playing the game, want to hit it a little longer, want to hole a few more putts, want to fix their slice, to very competitive young players, want to go to college on a golf scholarship, and everybody in between. And so, fortunately, we have both the wherewithal in terms of instructors here, the hardware to get the message across, create a great blueprint for their improvement plan, and really, take that sort of knowledge base that we've garnered from David, working with top players, working with some of the world's worst players, if you will, or, recreational level players, and, pass that knowledge of being able to improve them on. And we're pretty pleased to say that we get results pretty quickly, and we're delighted for our clients to be able to see that sort of improvement on a fairly rapid basis, and they obviously can follow up with us. And, for instance, if some of our students are coming in from the northeast, northwest, then they can follow up. The beauty of our instruction is there's continuity there. So they, for instance, if they live close to some of our northern locations, such as Pennsylvania, Colorado, Vancouver, they can go to that site in the summer for some follow-up, which is great.
Of course, I'm not talking about anybody in the Golf Smarter audience, because we're all dedicated to the love of this game. But are there people who shouldn't be playing golf? We've all played with people, we'll go out for a foursome and meet somebody new, and then we're just watching them and shaking our head like, why are they out here? I mean, there are people that really should, no, try something else.
It's a tough game. I mean,
I'm talking to an instructor here asking this question who wants to help everybody, but come on.
As Winston Churchill said, hey, it's a good walk spoiled. and at times it just spoils a little bit more, unfortunately. But you know what? The game lends itself to it. I mean, hope is a big part of everybody's reason for playing the game, whether it's Tiger Woods hoping to win another major, or whether it's just somebody going out for 9 holes on a Sunday evening hoping to hit just a sweet shot out of the middle of the club face. And so hope, no matter what your talent level is in this game, is the reason so many people come back. And so I think over the years, maybe, in coaching the game, I think slow play's been a bit of an issue. But, as long as somebody gets around, I always say to clients that struggle maybe a bit from tee to green, hey, play the hole in par. If it's a 4 par, give yourself 4 shots to get on the green. If you don't get on the green, hey, just go ahead and drop the ball up close to the green, chip it on, and 1 or 2 putt. So you sort of, if you can get round 9 holes or 18 in sort of a reasonable time, then it's, the game has a place for everybody. So you've just got to make sure you're playing off the tees you should be and not holding everybody up. But otherwise, hey, go play the game. It's a great game, fresh air. Hopefully you have some good company, and it just makes the experience all that more special.
From an instructor's viewpoint, or even from David Leadbetter's view, is golf really as difficult as the most of us make it?
When you actually break the silly game down, if you took a scientific approach and looked at the physics involved, the geometry involved, it's actually amazing that players do what they do. Certainly at the tour level, and even at the recreation level. I mean, you could take a 15 handicapper, could have a situation on a golf course, pin tuck left, 170 yards, and take out a hybrid and just hit a towering draw in there. And so even at the recreational level, players can pull off shots that a tour player will be proud of. But in getting back to your question, we're talking about the physics and the geometry. And so you would think on paper, if it was actually analyzed, there's so many things that go into hitting a solid golf shot out of the middle of the face. But, hey, hand-eye coordination, it really does help. The ability for a player to be able to get club face on ball, traveling down the target line. We all have that instinct in us. So it's a tough game. As Ben Hogan said, a perfect shot's a hole-in-one. So for that reason, most of our shots are miss hits, and it's just the quality of your miss hits that really determines, your ability to play the game at a reasonable level. And so it's a tough, challenging game, and I think more so, Fred, in this day and age, business, careers, family, it just takes up so much time. And so for the recreational player, if they have a little blueprint for their game improvement and are able even to make practice swings at home for 2-3 minutes several times a day before their weekend round, it can really make a big difference in terms of the results that they're able to achieve, even in the limited time that they have to play. So, yes, it's a very tough game, but if you have a little know-how, you have a few ideas and concepts that relate to your game improvement plan, and you're able to make some swings and whatnot before your weekend round or before your monthly game, it can make a big difference.
I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position with this question, and I apologize if I do, but are there people that you feel lessons would be more advantageous, ongoing lessons, than doing a golf school?
Yeah, I think for somebody, if a player can find an instructor in their area, and they have a passion, obviously, they feel that there's more to their game than their current level, they have potential to tap into, they have aspirations and hope to take their game to new levels. Certainly, there's going to be a time investment. What you get out of the game is definitely a product of what you put into it. As Ben Hogan said, you got to dig it out of the dirt a little bit. And that's very true. And so if you can find somebody, a local PGA professional in your area, to certainly guide you in a weekly, bi-weekly capacity, and give you some really good keys to focus on that keep you moving forward, that can be make a big difference in terms of a player reaching the potential and plateauing, because there's certain plateaus in this game. We all know that for the 15 or the 12 handicapper to finally get down to maybe an 8 or a 9 handicap is a huge achievement. And then for that same player to continually moving down maybe into a 5 or under handicap is a huge achievement. So there's definitely a time investment, and there's definitely a coaching investment there, because it's not always easy, if you will, for us to objectively look at our own game and figure out ways to make that step to that next level. And so, yes, coaching for on an ongoing basis can certainly facilitate that improvement.
And so what would you say to people who are looking at whether they should go to a school or take ongoing lessons? What kind of explanation, sales pitch, elevator pitch, if you will, do you give to people saying why going to a golf school is better for them?
I think at certain times of the year, certainly at the beginning of the year, I mean, hey, look, Jack Nicklaus used to go to his instructor in the wintertime and say, hey, Jack, meaning Jack Grout, obviously his Hall of Fame instructor, he'd say, Jack, teach me like I knew nothing about the game. And he would. He'd work with him from the ground up on his fundamentals, the way he held the club, the way he stood to the ball, and then obviously getting into the elements of the swing plane, his body motion. And so a golf school at the start of the year is a great platform for really any player, a low handicapper, high handicapper, obviously tour level player. It's the time of year you want to make changes. It's the time of year that you probably have time in your hands to make a lot of practice swings, do some mirror work, and not get so result-oriented in terms of how am I striking the ball and ultimately how am I scoring. It's a time of year when, the beginning of the year, when players can really make technical improvements. And then when golf season really starts to kick in the springtime, obviously working into the summertime, then players are a little less conscious about their technique, and from that perspective, it's more of a maintenance situation. They can come back down, certainly to our academy, do a little follow-up, maybe not as intense, have a smaller sessions in a private capacity. But a golf school at the start of the year is great because you're able to not only train, but you're able to, sit down with a golf instructor, learn about, all aspects of your game, a real brush-up type course, if you will, and then follow it up with some individual instruction, because at that point you're just looking, hopefully, to maintain those improvements that you established at the beginning of the year.
I did a golf school once a couple of years ago, and I found that after I left, all the stuff that I was getting into a groove over that 3-day period was really strong, really good, but I got back and I wasn't able to play for a couple weeks, and I got up to the driving range after that, and I'm like, I forgot. What happens? I mean, what kind of follow-up do you guys provide to your students who have invested a lot of energy and finance into coming to your school, but then when they leave, they can't talk to you or come and show you their swing?
I think modern technology's worked wonders in that arena.
Wow.
The fact that we're able to not only give a student a DVD or an internet lesson while they're here, have it obviously, if they have the DVD, they've got it in hand. If they wish to have their lesson over the internet, they have it. They can obviously save it onto their desktop, laptop, whatever. And now with the advent of the internet, I mean, it's as simple as capturing your swing and sending it over the internet to us. We use a fantastic technology, V1 technology, that allows us to capture swings off the internet and basically download them and then send a follow-up lesson back. So that basically, circumvents the geography and the time zones, that situation in terms of them having to obviously come back and see us. So we like to feel that our students, one, when they leave, have a very clear understanding of the instruction they took, a reference to go back to in terms of that DVD or that lesson that was saved over the internet for them. And then obviously the follow-up can be as simple as them making some practice swings, having a loved one or a friend videotaping it, and then just downloading it to the internet so that we can review it and send back follow-up comments. So that's been a wonderful tool for certainly ourselves at David Leadbetter Golf Academies and instructors around the world. It's the internet has been amazing in that capacity. And working with tour players, sometimes we'll see them on a Monday when they go off to a tournament, and then Wednesday their caddy may film them, and that evening we just can look at the footage and say, hey, keep up the good work, and or maybe highlight a certain area. And it's no different for a recreational player. They can, in fact, we have quite a few students that do that, send in their swings, and we have their instructors follow up with them over the internet, and so they're getting their lessons back within, hours and sometimes minutes of actually sending it. So it's been, the internet and digital video has been huge in terms of closing that geographic gap between student and instructor, and obviously maintaining the continuity and improvement timeline for students as they try to, follow up on, let's say, a golf school.
Yeah, well, we're big fans of the internet here. You can imagine if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to communicate with as many people as we do.
Exactly.
So when you're getting to work with someone for the first time, how is it that you determine if you're going to start with changing their equipment, maybe they do need lessons, or maybe it's a fitness issue? Where do you try to make your assessments?
With all students coming to the Academy for the first time, we try to get a student profile in-house before we see them. So before they even hit the ground here to do any sort of instruction, we sort of have a snapshot of, who they are, how long they've been playing, their strengths and weaknesses of the game, some of the sports they've played in the past other than golf, any related injuries, so in case we're dealing with some restrictions, their workout schedule, if they're hardcore working out, maybe they don't have a workout plan and they're interested one. And so before they even arrive, we have a snapshot. The instructor's very familiar with the game from the standpoint of their evaluation. And when they hit the ground running here, we are able to, quickly ascertain through our club fitting aspect, launch monitor stuff with our club fitter, through our physical trainer, through obviously video work and 3D work, we're quickly able to get to those areas that are, for the student, maybe weaknesses, and quickly start improving them, and getting the student to understand the cause and effect in their game, whether it's restrictions in their body motion, perhaps the club fit isn't right, a combination of all of the above. So you may have a student, for instance, we had a student with David a couple of weeks ago from Canada, a very good athlete, 12 handicapper, whose clubs were 1 inch too short, 2 degrees too flat, and all of a sudden, with the instruction that David was able to give the client, as well as the proper fitting equipment, the student made, immeasurable improvement. So knowing who you're working with before they come, some of their goals and aspirations in their game, some of their weakness and strengths, their current weakness and strength, really make it a situation where we're able to hit the ground running and get to that student's areas that will give them their biggest improvement down the road. So the evaluation process early on really sets the stage for what we're going to do with that client, and then obviously the instructor's able to focus on areas that will enable the student to improve quickly. As if somebody comes, Fred, and they're driving the ball well and they're very happy with their driving, but from 100 yards in they just are awful, that's where we're going to focus. Sure. During the course of 2-3 days. We may just do some touch-up on their long game, but really give them a great sort of tune-up from 100 yards and in, and feel like, that's what I came for, that's what I got, and feel like, wow, I can really, with my long game in shape, they've really helped me with my short game, and vice versa. Maybe somebody that drives it poorly and has a great short game, and if we can help them with their long game, then it just makes their game that much more enjoyable.
Do you see that the 100 yards and in is the element of the game that most people need work on?
I would say in my time watching amateurs, working with them, watching them play in pro-ams, the two things that stand out are course management and inside 100 yards, for sure. Because, sometimes you see a player with maybe a not-so-great skill set, but they have certain shots in their bag that they know they have, and they don't always go to them. For instance, a classic would be they're warming up and they're flushing their 3-wood, maybe it's a 15-yard slice, and then they take out their driver, which for some reason they feel compelled to hit anyway off the tee boxes, and they got a 40-yard slice going. So, you're watching this going, okay, well, hey, buddy, if you hit your 3-wood here without any instruction, you're going to hit more fairways. And certainly if you do miss a fairway, you probably have a shot at least advancing it up greenside. And then so really it's a case of, getting a player to understand what they've got in their bag currently from a course management and strategy standpoint, and then really giving a player, I feel if a player can play from 100 yards and in, they've got a game. I mean, if you can put it on the green from that range, certainly obviously as you get closer to it, hitting it inside those one-putt range makes a huge difference. And so course strategy and short game really, for the recreational golfer, if that's the focus, going with the shot you have from tee to green and then really polishing your short game, working at it, learning some solid, fundamentally sound shots, you can really see a difference in your score.
Well, I would love to have, especially have you or one of the David Leadbetter instructors come on to Golf Smarter Tips on a regular basis and just focus on course management. I think that would be, this is a great, podcasting would be a great venue for that kind of instruction without the visuals, and it makes total sense. Yeah, no, we'd be delighted, Fred, to, certainly give the listeners and folks around the world just some sound advice. Oftentimes, as we're talking about it, it's a case of a player just feeling, okay, instead of maybe having 3 wedges in your bag, maybe just having 1 wedge in your bag, getting familiar with it, getting a club that you feel you can, hit from a tee box, whether it's a 3-wood or driver, you can rely on it, and having a couple of favorite fairway clubs. I mean, tips like that are invaluable. A lot of people, if you ask them, what's your favorite club in your bag? And all of a sudden they say, I'm pretty good with the putter, and this is my favorite wedge, and the 7 and the 5 iron seem to always work well, and for some reason I love my 5-wood. Well, guess what? I mean, those are the clubs you should be using most often if that player even didn't have instruction. And course management's one of those things where you just got to be smart and use your common sense and play with what you've got. And if players did that on a regular basis, I can assure you they'd eliminate some of the big numbers that sometimes spoil their scorecard. Absolutely. Well, Sean Hogan, you've quoted Ben Hogan numerous times. We do want to let everyone know there's no relation. You're just a student. But we really appreciate you spending time with us on the Golf Smarter podcast. You've provided some great insight and hopefully have teased some people who want to now come down to the Ledbetter Golf Academy and take some lessons with you. Well, it's been a pleasure, Fred. We appreciate you having us on. I know Dr. Winters has been on a couple of times, our mental toughness coach, and we certainly enjoy the affiliation with golfsmarter.com. We look forward to certainly having more of our instructors on and dialing in maybe some parts of the game that we can hopefully help players around the world in terms of imparting some wisdom that maybe shave some strokes off their games and have them enjoy the game all that more. So we really do appreciate talking with you this afternoon.